Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future, you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. And dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
and the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man to have ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey folks, welcome to the program. Do me a favor, please lift a finger right now and share the program. This is going to be a multi-part series. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Just go to jovanlovesgold.com. I want you to request your free gold and silver kit today because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Something's coming in the digital world. They're going to hot swap our money. and you're going to be affected. And I think it's going to basically trim down what you think you have in the bank. Quit waiting, quit putting it off, quit procrastinating, especially if you have a 401k or IRA. Get to my partners at Goldco by going to jovanlovesgold.com. Also, you should be aware, immediately following this program, I am going to hop over to my locals because we have a lot to discuss. That's where I kind of tell you the behind the scenes stuff, trying to make sense of it, right? So jump over to my locals. If you're on Rumble, you're going to see a little red oval. That's where you click to join my locals if you haven't joined. But I'm going to go through some things in detail that pertain to this series. So this is a multi-part series. Share this program right now. This is going to blow your socks off. Let's get started.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to The Crap, Culture, Race, and American Politics. That's The Crap. This is part one of how it works. This is a multi-part special presentation on psychological warfare. Can the CIA or deep state mind games get you to betray your own country? Put it in chat. Do you think a psychological operation could be so convincing that it could get you to betray your own country? Do you think that could actually happen? Do you think the psychological warfare is so great, so intense, so wonderful, so realistic that it can make you betray your country? Some say yes, some say absolutely, and some say no. Here's the deal. Because we're going to be heading into another election, you're going to see a tremendous amount of psychological warfare engaged. They used psychological warfare in 2020. This is the most detailed series I've done. I'm going to do it in a different format. I'm going to bring it to you in smaller chunks because you have to learn it, because it's going to heat up. So that's the question. Can a CIA or deep state mind game get you to betray your country? That's the question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each of the elements that are required in a psychological operation with a fixed agenda. You know, there's normal BS that goes in the political realms always, like during the Biden administration telling us, no, inflation's down, the economy's growing, look at all these fantastic jobs. We are surrounded by psychological warfare. The issue is it has now been fully weaponized against every one of us, the voters. And one of the ways I kind of show you what's going on is you got to understand, and you can relate to this in 2020, when you understand how they pulled the psychological warfare that Biden won. But all of this psychological warfare has a trailing effect that when you look back, you can see it. And it's like a big finger sticking up saying, F you, America. Biden didn't get 81 million votes. And so what they do is they got to make you look other places, which is exactly what they're currently doing. And while we were sleeping, snoozing, a year later, they have raised Kamala from her supposed 68 million to now over 75,000. In fact, on this chart, this is a May 21 date. They already had Kamala up to 74,749,891 votes, and they've added another 226,000 lately. This is done under the cover of psychological warfare. So I'm going to take these through steps. I'm going to try to be methodical, but I'm going to do these in bite-sized capsules so it's easier for you to share and easy for you to understand. Now, the first step in every bit of psychological warfare is the concept of the story. This is why stories matter. What happens is the system must control the narrative. And so in order to control the narrative, they have to rewrite reality. In order to control the narrative, they must rewrite the reality. Now, everybody clearly saw something was wrong in 2020, and this is the teaching context I am doing it in, because you're now years past it, and you can look back and you're going to see things that sadly you didn't see while it was going on. But now that years have passed, you are going to be very sober on some of the things I'm showing you and how it's working. So as we dive into this step one, controlling the narrative, which is so incredibly critical to the process, I'm going to break down for you how that happens. Now, here's how it starts. Now, when I use culture in this term, I'm meaning all of us as American voters. And by the way, this applies internationally as well. Okay, by the way, if you haven't done it, share this program right now. This is incredible teaching moment. Share it right now. Now, you must control culture with things that are called simplified slogans or emotionally charged phrases that replace complex debate with instinctive allegiance. Now, the key word here is allegiance. Put it in the 2020 context. You know that something happened because all of a sudden, all the rules were broken. Observers couldn't watch. They were blocked, even like taking me up cardboard on windows. Everybody in the world got a mail-in ballot, right? We were in pandemic. You can't go within 6 feet of people, but you can go to these certain places and vote. And then all of a sudden, very uniquely, that the vote stopped being counted. Hadn't happened before, okay? So in this first step of controlling the narrative, the operative word here is instinctive allegiance. Here's what I want you to think about. If 2020 was in fact a psychological warfare game that was executed, how could they get you? And this is the vein you must think of it in. How could they get you to betray your country? So I want you to think about the slogans that were thrown around or the emotionally charged phrases that replace complex debate with instinctive allegiance. I'll give you a good example. The complex debate that was going on at the time was, how did they do this? It's where many of you got introduced to me when I'm explaining it's with the paper. Here is how it happens. Here is how you find it. Here is how you see it. And that's why we got the full forensic audit in Arizona, right? To really dive into it to give the public an answer. However, something came into play where we all were having very complex debates and discussions about how do our elections really work? What are the rules? What should have been done? That's the complex debate, right? I can tell you, I can guarantee you right now, if you look back, you know more about how our elections work or don't work than any other time in your life. So you have to swap that complex debate with something that is called instinctive allegiance. Now, the key word here is allegiance. I just want you to think allegiance is like trust, confidence. Where did many people, instead of engaging in complex debate, where did they just instinctively give their allegiance? Let me say that again. If you were thinking back to 2020 and how they really did it and what was set up, during that time, we're having very complex debates, most of it surrounding around the full forensic audit in Arizona, and you're learning more than you ever learned about how our elections work or don't work. Now, in order for things in psychological warfare to happen, to get you truly inadvertently to betray your country, they need to give you something that they can swap it with. And it's got to have this element of allegiance. I just want you to think, where did people en masse give their allegiance? Now, the second step in this particular process, and remember, this is step one, controlling the narrative. Also about, okay, you got to flood it. You got to flood the airways with it. Slogans, emotionally charged phrases, the key word being emotionally charged phrases. But what it has to do is it has to replace a complex debate. Now, one of the hot swaps always is, here's what you need to know, here's what you need to understand, and then it gets swapped with, oh, we have it all. Immediately, you kind of shut down and you switch your allegiance. Now, the second phase of this is what's called visual symbolism. Visual symbolism. Traditional ways this is done is billboards, memes, or celebrity influencer sound bites, but they're repeating identical catchphrases. I've shown you this before. It is a well-known operation, a very well-known operation in psychological warfare. It must get you to repeat mantras. It must get you to repeat phrases. It's a standard procedure. They do it so often and so much is because you just keep on hearing it, you keep on hearing it, you keep on hearing it. Now, I'm going to beg you for a moment. This is not about parties. The system, when it wants to control you, doesn't give a rat's hoo-hoo about parties. If it wants to use the Dems to get it there, it's going to use the Dems. If it wants to use the independents to get there, it's going to use the independents. If it wants to use the Republicans to get there, it's going to use it. Remember, it doesn't focus on one. And if you focus on one, you're leaving out the rest of the market. So I'm just going to give you a quick reminder of how this repeatable mantra, because you're going to have to understand it in this context. Visual symbolism, billboards, memes, celebrity influencer, sound bites, repeating identical catchphrases. I want to show you what it looks like, but the context I'm going to be teaching you in is 2020.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism, is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
Mm-hmm. We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
Okay, now you understand that from the Dem side, but I want you to throw away all labels. This is not a label of Democrat or Independent or Republican or Green Party. This is a label of a uniparty or a CIA deep state. So when I beseech of you to understand, they use names or faces you recognize, and they've got to repeat identical catchphrases. Now, in this step number one, this is part of step number one, called controlling the narrative. The third part of it is basically calling it the psychological effect. Now, this is key. Not only do they have to keep you from complex debates, they've got to reduce analytical thought. And the easiest way to do that is they replace it with emotional team identity. In order to prevent in the public complex debate, they need something that will take your allegiance. They're going to use people to do it with catchphrases. And then in this step one, they're going to reduce the analytical thought. One way to do it is to insert somebody into the process who basically becomes the surrogate that says, don't worry about the heavy lifting. I'm an advanced guru mathematician. You don't have to think about it. Now, that's a prime example of reducing analytical thought. You don't have to think about it because we did. Now, a key to this is it always must be presented in what's called team identity. Now, this is exceptionally important, okay? Exceptionally important to the process. You've got to make people feel like they're part of a team, which leads to step two. Now, this is called the step which is required to weaponize credibility. It is the influencer veil. In other words, familiar faces to transmit ideology. I showed it to you in that video. A lot of on the dim side, familiar faces. I'm begging you, throw the parties away and stop thinking about parties, because you might think that only the Dems did it or only the extreme liberals did it. And you have to understand, we as a nation are under control by psychological warfare, which is why I'm doing this multi-part series of how it works. This is part one, psychological warfare. Can CIA deep state mind games get you to betray your country? It happens more than you could ever imagine. It happens so much more than you could ever imagine because, well, the process works. And don't think that just one size does it. So let's get into step two. And by the way, I'm going to present to you the 6 anchors first. That's why it's a multi-part series. And this series, we've got number 1 and 2. So let's hop into, okay, how do they make this work? Well, what has to happen? The actual mechanism that makes this work is they've got to bring in, draft in, recruit in trusted public figures. This is for the symbolism part of it. Now, that could be news anchors, it could be reporters, it should be thought leaders, influencers, artists, athletes, scientists. They're all enlisted to humanize the propaganda. Now, when it comes to humanizing the propaganda, here's what that means. The system wants you to believe one thing. They're going to repeat it, and they're going to repeat it, and they're going to repeat it. But to make it stick, they really have to put a face on it. And that face should be somebody you trust or somebody you are willing to trust. Get it? They leave no stone unturned. It's going to be somebody you trust, somebody you're willing to trust. And they bring these from all particular segments of society. That is the symbolism part of it. Now, why do they need that symbolism to make this happen? Now, this is the key. When they decide to put out a new narrative, because they've got to hot swap the narrative, what happens is a familiar TV personality or beloved Christian leader, let's say a beloved Christian or leader, they need somebody you're familiar with. The most effective ones in the world doing this at a global or national level is somebody that you have already given your trust to. Oh, I like that guy, right? This is why they use athletes. This is why they use artists, etc. But here's the deception underneath. That TV personality or beloved Christian or leaders may actually sincerely believe they're doing good. Now, you will take their faith and their belief systems and you will adopt them as your own. Why? They don't want you digging deep. Remember, replace complex debate. They want you to reduce analytical thought. And so what happens is when they draft in these people, that's what they do called lending moral weight to a falsehood. Again, they're going to flood culture and they want to replace complex debate. You've got to give an instinctive allegiance to somebody. There's always going to be catchphrases. And then what happens is they're going to reduce your analytical thought and replace it with the emotional component they need that, hey, it's part of a team. And they do this through this weaponized credibility. They actually choose these people out and then they roll out this program that basically you tend to get your belief system from somebody you've seen or you're familiar with. And that is what's called lending moral weight to a falsehood. In every single operation, they must lend moral weight to the falsehood. This is what enables you to make that leap. This is what enables you to make that leap. So you begin to adopt the influencers, let's say, beliefs, the person that you give credibility to, the person you believe leads by morality. You begin to adopt their mantra, their catchphrases as your own. And then what you do is you kind of substitute your critical thinking, your analytical thinking, your requirement that you should debate and vet, and you hot swap it with somebody that you basically believe, well, if they debated it and that's what they believe, then I'm going to believe it too. Now, this is an absolute requirement because this is called the hot swap. This is what's called the hot swap. And in order to make this hot swap work, okay, what they have to do is they're going to take your good intentions. We want this crap fixed. We want to find out what happened in our election. Remember, the filter I'm showing you this through is through the 2020 elections. You have every intention, belief system, and everything that all of this must be fixed. So they take your good intentions, lead you to believe you are still executing upon those good intentions, and they co-opt it. They hot swap it with their own program. This is what gets you to stand down or to sit down. Now, as I told you, I'm going to continue. I'm going to give you a quick high level of all of these over at my locals next. If you're on Rumble, just click the red oval, and that's how you'll get to my locals. You can either become a supporter or you can just kind of lurk. But I'm going to go into this in more detail. Now, I'm going to leave you with a bit of investigative work maybe you should do on your own. Now, remember, what they have to do is control the narrative. They will change complex debate, and you've got to go over somewhere where your instinct says, oh, I got to trust this person. You give them your allegiance. That's usually in the form of a visual symbolism, okay? And they repeat mantras. And then what they're going to do is that when they can get rid of the complex debate, you're not going to analytically think about it because you're kind of playing on a team. And that's where they weaponize the credibility of that influencer veil. And it can be somebody you trust, but they humanize the propaganda. And when they can humanize it, what happens is they lend moral weight to a falsehood. And it is in that lending of moral weight that your good intentions of getting this fixed get co-opted. That is how this works. Remember, this is a multi-part series. I'll see you over at Locals. I want to give you a little bit of homework you might want to do. Watch this.
Anyone that watches this will be all on board with saving our country. I don't care what side of the political aisle
we have it all. So what a packet capture is, and our government...
We're going to hide the cyber guys in the other room, put headphones so they can't hear. They're going to come out and read the packet capture. This is going to be ongoing all through the symposium.
We have it all. So what a packet capture is, and our government...
And we're inviting all the cyber guys that have credentials. They have to be cleared. We're not just inviting anybody who says, oh, I have this credentials. It doesn't matter what party you're in. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're even taken from 5 other countries because they've called me. Their leaders have called me, and they want to be there.
I've already had the data validated. A senator can actually, or a politician can go up there, put in the name of his state, or put in a county, or put in whatever he wants, the whole election, and then out's going to come the real count, what really happened the night of the election. Now, he can take that, and he can go over to his own cyber guy and say, hey, could you look at this thing? Yeah, validate this for me. And they're going to validate it. He's going to go, wow, this is nonsense. We have it all. So what a packet capture is, and our government was
everything. And I'll tell you, all the influencers that are invited, thousands of podcasters and TV hosts, radio hosts, that this is going to be the voice of the world. Brandon, I'm going to invite people from overseas, big organizations that have a big influence on the world. They're the ones that are going to be there. And they're going to be handpicked. I'm picking them. They're going to be there, and they're going to put out their voice. And you know what? After those 2 days, if there's any politician left in the United States that says there was no election crime and that they really are in love with those machines, they can sit behind those melted down prison bars made from those machines right next to Brad Rassenberg.
We've got all the right in the world on our side, and there ain't no reason to be afraid, and there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on, because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, there was Americans. Quezon, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sight of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are. That we are Americans. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive people. Not only survive, but thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready. We got a fight on our hands. And our fight is not for us, for all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.